Okay, so recently there are two apps that I downloaded on my phone that are literally getting me very, very obsessed. The apps in question are the Netboom app and the JoyArk app. Now, for those that don't know, JoyArk and Netboom are cloud game streaming services, and they let you access games that you would normally get on your PC or your console directly on your smartphone. Both of these apps have a massive library of games from Forza Horizon to WWE to FIFA, GTA, Red Dead Redemption, and so on. Now, note that this video is not sponsored by any of these apps, but I just want to, share like things that I know about both of them and stuff. Now, for both of these apps, there are two problems that they solve. First of all is accessibility. Now, there are many game streaming services that are more popular like Game Pass or GeForce Now and so on, but however, these services are not available to everyone in every single country. Sure, maybe you might live in the US or something where this is very, very accessible, but however, someone that lives in another country does not have this. Apps like Netboom and JoyArk basically bridge this gap and make it more possible for that average person to play these games. The second problem that these apps solve is affordability. Now, not everybody might be able to afford Xbox Game Pass and so on, like even if it may be available in their country or not. And at the same time, not everybody can afford a game console and stuff. Like for me, I have like a Nintendo Switch right here and stuff. I even have a PS4 as well. Now, I'm privileged to own these game consoles, but however, the person next to me might not be able to own these consoles. And even though I do own these consoles and stuff, it's not every game that I have access to because of affordability. But with Netboom and JoyArk, they solve this problem and give you these games at a much more affordable cost. Like there are games that I have never played before, such as Sleeping Dogs or Tekken 8, and because of these apps, I got the privilege to play them at a much cheaper cost. Now in this video, we're going to be comparing both the Netboom app and the JoyArk app, and we're going to see the differences between them and some of the similarities as well. Now let's start with the gaming catalog. Now, based on my test between both of these apps, Netboom has more games compared to JoyArk. There are some games that I have seen on Netboom like Sonic Generations, Sleeping Dogs, The Sims, and so on. They're available on Netboom, but however, JoyArk does not have any of those games at all. Now, this isn't to say that JoyArk doesn't have any games at all. They do have games. They have a vast amount of games. But I'm just saying that in terms of more games that you can play, then Netboom is like a good option in that type of case. Now, however, JoyArk still has some games that Netboom doesn't have. I've only been able to see two games though, which are Brawlhalla and League of Legends. It has those two games, but however, Netboom does not have it. Next, let's move on to the menu UI. In terms of the menu UI, based on my tests, I would say that Netboom just has a much better menu UI. Like everything is so arranged that you can easily find games and stuff. However, JoyArk does not have such arrangement, and I just feel as if now that the navigation is just not as smooth as Netboom. This isn't to say that their navigation is bad, but it could be better. However, one thing that I like that JoyArk does is that it categorizes games based on the platform that it was made for. So for example, they have a category for Windows games, a category for Steam games, a category for Epic games, and so on. So you can basically like browse through category and stuff. This is something that I like that they do that Netboom does not do. One thing that I like that Netboom does is this. Now, there are some games that require logins like from Steam or whatnot. And what Netboom does is that before you start that game, they'll indicate that this game requires a login or whatnot. And then even when you try to start the game, they'll tell you to put in your Steam login and everything. Now, JoyArk does not do this at all. JoyArk instead will let you open that game as if it's a normal game, and then only for you to see Steam like loading and everything, and you have to now log into your Steam account and whatnot. This is something that's very, very annoying because there are some games that they don't even indicate that it's from Steam and everything, and it's so annoying because these apps make use of hours to run. And the more time you waste, the more hours that you're depleting and everything, and you have to continue paying for more and more hours before you can use these apps and stuff. So it's very, very annoying because it makes you to waste hours. But here's one tip I will give you. Any game that requires a login, I would advise you not to put in your login details from Steam or whatnot because you do not know who is getting your details and everything. If you want to, use the Steam or any other login that is required, simply just create yourself a dummy email one that's not tied to your personal life or your work life or whatnot. Create a dummy email, and then you can make a new Steam account or any other account for that matter with that dummy email and everything. And then from there, you can log it in there. So in case something happens, you know that it's not tied to you. Do you get what I mean? One thing I like about both of these apps is that they have like a feature where now that you can perform some tasks like watch ads or whatnot, and then from there you can get some minutes for free, whether or not you're a paid member. Now for Netboom, if you watch all the ads and everything, you get like 12 minutes of gaming for free. However, for JoyArk, you get 15 minutes for just doing 2 tasks. And then the more tasks you do, you can basically get more like minutes and everything. So yeah, when it comes to how long you can play for free, then JoyArk is much better in that regard. Next, let's talk about pricing. Now, let's talk about the monthly subscription for both Netboom and JoyArk. Now, for Netboom on Android, if you pay $10 per month, you get 60 hours of gaming. But they have a premium VIP mode that if you pay $9 a month, you get 210 hours of gaming. Now, for iOS, if you pay $10 a month, you get 90 hours of gaming. Now, for JoyArk, if you pay on iOS, you get 50 hours of gaming per month. For Android, if you pay $10 a month, you get 40 hours of gaming. I'll just say that in terms of monthly subscription, Netboom just gives you way more, in my opinion, compared to JoyArk. Especially if you're an Android user, because for the premium VIP, you're getting that amount of hours per month, like for $9. Isn't that really nice? Now, if you have an iPhone and you want to get that same subscription that Android has, all you have to do is quite simple. Look for a friend or family member that has an Android phone, log into your Netboom account and make payment there. Or if you already have an Android phone, you can just make payment there. And then when you make payment with your account, it will reflect on your iPhone if you already have that same iPhone account on Android. You get what I mean? Like, one thing I like about 2 of these apps is that you do not need to pay for a monthly subscription if you know you can't afford it. Instead, you can pay for hours. So the more hours you pay for, you can play any game you want, like if that is more affordable for you. Now, for JoyArk on iOS, the minimum amount of hours you can buy starts from 5 hours. And if you pay $2.99, you can get that 5 hours. For iOS, the most expensive amount of hours you can buy is 30 hours for $14.99. Now, for Android on JoyArk, you get 3 hours for $2.99. And then the maximum amount that you can get is 30 hours for $14. Now, for Netboom, if you want 600 coins or 5 hours on iOS, it starts from $4.59. Meanwhile, the most expensive amount of hours, which are 20 hours or 2,400 coins, is $14.99. Now for Android, you can get 3 hours or 260 coins on Netboom for 90 cents. But however, the maximum for Android is 35 hours or 4,200 coins for $5.75. Now in terms of hours and everything, Android is the better option when it comes to Netboom overall, because they're giving you more value for cheaper compared to iOS, like, which is very, very weird, because why is iOS so expensive when it comes to hours on Netboom? But then JoyArk on iOS is cheaper than Android when it comes to hours, which I also see as weird. For me, in terms of value overall, when it comes to hours or subscription, Netboom is just way better. And if you still want to get those like hours or subscription, if you have an iPhone, log into an Android and make payment there. Now for Android users, if you're a first-time user of Netboom or JoyArk, they have this 3-day deal basically, where now that if you pay $1.89 for JoyArk, it gives you 10 hours. But then for Netboom, if you pay $1.48, you get 9 hours. Now let's talk about gaming when it comes to both of these apps. Now, in order for you to play any game, you have to join a queue, and when it reaches your turn, you can enter the game. Now, basically, in terms of queuing and everything, let me just be honest with you, both of them suck, but the one that sucks even more is Netboom. Like, imagine being number 30 something or 40 something on the queue all day. You're waiting all day and you still haven't entered the game yet. It's so annoying. But however, when it comes to JoyArk just loads much faster. Like, even though sometimes you can be on the queue, like maybe you're number 18 or something on the queue, you will still get into the game much faster compared to Netboom. But based on my tests overall, JoyArk is way faster, especially on an Android phone, because I've been playing on Android ever since, and it is so fast there. Like, it gets you inside of the game immediately, and that's why I really love JoyArk when it comes to speed, because it's much faster basically. But there are some times that, for Netboom, that loading the game up is much faster and stuff. Like, do you get what I mean? Now let's talk about the controls. In terms of the control layout, this is how JoyArk looks like, and this is also how Netboom looks like. Now, in terms of the layout, I feel as if now that I just like JoyArk's layout much better. And one thing I like about the layout is that it combines the D-pad and the left analog stick together, which I think is super cool. Another thing I like about JoyArk's like controls and everything like that, you have different preset controls that you can pick from and everything, or you can even customize your own if you feel like it. One thing I also like about JoyArk is that when you're playing games, you have this sub menu. If you just click on the JoyArk logo, you can see the menu pop up. Now with this sub menu, you have access to different features and stuff. Like you can change the cursor speed, you can see the network speeds, and so on. I also like that this sub menu lets you see how long you've been playing the game and stuff, which I think is also nice too. One feature that I like that this JoyArk app has is the game repair option. Now let's assume that you're playing a game and maybe it crashes or you can't control anything at all. If you click on game repair, it lets you restart the game from inside of this game without you needing to leave the app or anything and being in the queue again. Do you get what I mean? And also, depending on the game you play, there are some games that give you a voice chat mode as well, which I think is very nice. So I think that this voice chat mode is for, games that are competitive like Fortnite or League of Legends or Apex and so on. But if you ever get confused and you don't know what features do what, you just click on the question mark icon, and then from there it will tell you what everything does. Also, you can switch between a keyboard or the gamepad. We know that maybe some games you might need to type in your name or whatnot, and a keyboard is a good option for that. And then you can switch to the gamepad when you want to play like the game and everything. But then when it comes to the Android version of JoyArk, one difference they have when it comes to the sub menu is basically the top up option, where you can top up more hours or a subscription while you're playing the game. Now let's move on to Netboom. When it comes to the control layout of Netboom, what they do is that they basically separate the left analog stick and the D-pad, but everything else is pretty much the same, just like JoyArk is. Now for me personally, I don't know why, but I just like the control scheme of JoyArk compared to Netboom. But tell me what you think. Now when it comes to their sub menu, they do allow you to edit the existing control scheme, but however, Netboom does not have any preset controls just like JoyArk does. Now you can change things like the mouse sensitivity and the display and everything, and you can also quit the game too. So their own is just kind of basic. But the one thing I do like about Netboom submenus is that they basically tell you how many hours you do have left, like overall. So let's assume that you buy 5 hours of gaming, they will be telling you how many hours you have left in real time, which I think is very nice. But however, when it comes to the Android layout of Netboom, it's quite different, where now that you can recharge, like when you're playing a game or whatnot, they do have a shortcut option, and they even have this home option where now that if you click on the home option, it lets you go back to the main menu of Netboom, and you can stay in the main menu for 5 minutes. If you stay after 5 minutes, then they kick you out of the game. But like if you stay within that 5-minute range, you can go back to the game immediately without you having to queue again. Overall, when it comes to gaming with both of them, they perform relatively the same. So yeah, both games basically work in the same way and stuff. But here are some pro tips that I would give you if you're going to be using either Netboom or JoyArk. Now, it is highly recommended that you use a game controller when you're playing any of these games at all. This is because with a controller, you can play much better. There are some games that you literally cannot even play because of a lack of a controller. Like for example, I was playing The Crew and literally I could not control anything without a controller. Or a game that has to do with shooting, like I tried playing Red Dead Redemption, and then when it came to the shooting part of it, I literally could not control it properly, even with GTA. With the controller, I was able to do everything so much better. Another pro tip is this. Let's assume that your game freezes, like maybe now that, okay, you're playing a game but you're hearing sound but you can't see the screen, or maybe the screen has frozen or whatnot. Just, close the app completely. Don't quit the game. Close the app completely, and then from there go back in, and then you'll be able to log back into the game without you having to join the queue again. Another pro tip is this. Some games are required to click on something on the screen before you can continue. Just use your finger to move the mouse on the screen and click on the screen, and then boom, you're able to do anything in the game just like that. Finally, there are some games that I simply would not advise you to play because there are some games that are literally unplayable. Now, if you're using Netboom, you can play Mortal Kombat 11, but however, on JoyArk, the game literally will not work at all. Some games are coming between both of them, such as GTA 4, Uncharted Legacy Collection, Detroit Become Human, avoid those games because those games are literally going to waste so much time. Even Inzoi as well, that game Inzoi, avoid it. I think even Call of Duty, like the one I played, it literally would not load up at all. I think they have other Call of Duty games, so you can try out those ones, but I'm just saying, I think I played Black Ops 6, so yeah, maybe avoid that one, but other ones, maybe they might work better for you, I don't know. And bonus pro tip, if you're playing Forza Horizon and you don't like hearing this person that's talking or whatnot, just go into the settings of the game and disable the screen reader option, and from there you will not hear that voice when you're playing your game. Before I end this video, let me give you my recommendation of games that you should play on either of these apps and stuff that will not have any issues when you're playing and everything. Do you get what I mean? So yeah, that'll be all for today's video. If you like this video, then please like, comment, share, and even subscribe. And also tell me, have you used any of these apps before? Please comment below and share your thoughts and everything. And yeah, I hope I see you guys next time.